Okay. Good morning, students. Am I audible properly? Yeah. Good morning. Can you all hear my voice?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for the response. So, okay. So, I just want to announce today that we are going to have the lectures now 8:30. Sorry for the delay. It's already 8:40. So, 1 hour. I hope to have the lectures. And do you have your corporate finance lectures today at 9:30? Is it confirmed? Someone please respond. We have the corporate finance. Corporate finance. So I don't know the subject. At 9:30, do we have any lectures? 11 to 1, we will be having the presentation. Okay. So the groups which need to present today, not actually today, the next remaining groups, please get ready for the presentation, and you will be having it on at 11 a.m. today, and we can have the lectures until 10:30. So now we are moving to the chapter 13, which is conflict and negotiation. So the specific learning objective that we are intending to achieve through this chapter is we try to define what is conflict and outline a conflict process. So there is a process called conflict. So normally the conflict, all the conflict, they go through that particular process. Even though we recognize it or not, usually all the conflicts follow that particular process, and we will try to understand, okay, what the conflict process is and what are the stages involved in that conflict process. And then we will move to the negotiation, which is defining the negotiation. We will try to give a definition for the negotiation. And there are two kinds of negotiation, or we can say it as bargaining as well. So we will try to differentiate, or we will try to contrast and compare two different bargaining strategies: distributive bargaining and the integrative bargaining. And as of the conflict, again, the negotiation also has its own process, and or the bargaining has its own process, which is consists of 5 different steps. So we will try to learn about those steps in the negotiation process, and then we will move to the third party negotiation, because whenever the parties which are having the conflict, or parties which are involved in the negotiation, when those two parties are not able to solve the conflict, or to reach an outcome by themselves, they may need to use a third party to mediate between those two. So we will try to understand what the role this third party plays in the negotiation, and what are the different third parties can be there, and what they can do in terms of this negotiation. So the first one is definition of the conflict. So conflict, as we all know that when there is a disagreement between two different parties, or maybe that party can be two different individual, or maybe two different group of people, or two different organization. So when there is a disagreement between those parties, when there is a different points of view between those parties, the conflict arises. So that means when one party perceives that other party has negatively affected. So if you think that for example, you and your friend is there, and if you think, or if you perceive that your friend has done something which is negatively affecting something that you wishes to have, maybe negatively affecting your outcome, then you will perceive, or you will feel a disagreement, or you will feel like a conflict with your friend. So that is what the conflict. So it's a process that begins when one party perceives the other party has negatively affected, or is about to negatively affect. It's not need to be the actual negative outcome. It can be the potential negative outcome as well. So it can be about to negatively affect something that first party cares about. So if something is negatively affected by the second party, but if you don't care about those things, if it is not important to yourself, then you will not care about those. It's not a problem to you. So if when the problem arises is when you consider the thing which is being negatively affected by the other party as important to yourself, and when you care about that particular thing only, you will try to pursue this conflict. Okay, so the contemporary perspective differentiate the types of conflict based on their effect. So conflict, we can categorize them uh, according to different bases. So when we try to categorize this conflict based on the effect it has on the performance or maybe the organization, we can categorize it into two: the functional conflict and the dysfunctional conflict. So the functional conflict that supports the goal of the group and improve its performance. So functional conflict in the sense, even though the conflict is there, even though the disagreement, different points of view is there, but the outcome or the result of that conflict would be beneficial for the organization, or maybe beneficial for the group or the parties. So if a conflict is in such a nature, we can say it as a functional conflict. That means it will improve the performance. It will improve the group performance or maybe the organization performance. For example, uh, when an organization is having maybe a meeting to uh, propose a solution for a particular problem identified by the particular organization, then if someone suggests a problem, and if everyone else is agreeing to that particular problem, there will not be uh, like a best problem or best solution should not be found. But when this conflict arises, or when someone else disagrees the solution suggested by the first person, there will be an argument, and at the end of the argument, they will reach, or they will identify the best possible solution for that particular problem. So in such cases, obviously, it improves the performance, or it improves the organization, or it's the beneficial outcome to the organization. So that is what the functional conflict do. And dysfunctional conflict that hinders the group performance. So this is the right opposite of the functional conflict. So what it does is it usually hinders the performance. So if these kind of conflicts is there, the people may not even interact with each other. And if there is no any interaction or no any proper communication between the parties, then they may not be able to achieve their group or the organization goals. That is called the dysfunctional conflict. Okay, so this is the categorization of the conflict based on their effort. So how it affects the performance, or whether it is positively affecting the performance or whether it is negatively affecting the performance. If it is positively affecting, we can call it as functional one. If it is negatively affecting, we can call it as the dysfunctional conflict. Okay, so we can categorize the conflict according to another basis, like although the conflict is unique, researchers have classified the conflict into three categories. So we can make the categorization of the conflict on another basis, where the conflict has been divided into three different categories. First one, it is the task conflict. Second one is the relationship conflict. Third one is the process conflict. Okay. So there are three different conflicts. So the task conflict means it is related to the content and goal of the work. So if we need to complete a particular task, maybe for example, like completing a construction work of a building, then what needs to be done? So what is the content of the that project? Like what are the tasks need to be done? What are the resources they need? How many people we need to construct, and how long it will take to complete the task or construction? So all these kind of things which is related to the task or goal is called as the task conflict. Relationship conflict, in the sense, it focuses on the interpersonal relationship. Am I properly audible? Are you all hearing my voice clearly? If you cannot hear me clearly, please let me know. I'll try to increase my voice, sound of my voice. Okay. So the second category is the interpersonal relationship, where the conflict arises between the parties because of their personal issue, or like, okay, Okay, I'll try to increase the sound. Okay, so the relationship conflict, in the sense, it is the relationship. It is the conflict arising between the interpersonal relationship, like between the parties. Maybe their personal issues, or maybe any different points of view or different perspectives, like any arguments can lead to this relationship conflict. So this is not about their work, or maybe goal of the work, or the content related something. So this is something related to personal activities, or the personal behavior, or the personal characteristics of the parties involved in the conflict. So that kind of conflict is called as the relationship conflict. And the third category of the conflict is the process conflict. So here, this is not about the content or the goal of the work. This is something about how the work gets done. That means the process of the work. So what tasks need to be done first, and what are the tasks need to be completed in a subsequent way, whether these tasks are dependent on each other, whether the task one, once the task one is completed only, can we start the task two. So what is the process, how the task is or how the work gets done. So if something related to some points of different points of view, or some arguments arises in terms of these, how the work gets done, or maybe the process of doing these tasks, then that is called as the process conflict. Okay. So this is three different categories of the conflict: task conflict, relationship conflict, and the process conflict. And moving on to the other part, another way to understand the conflict is to consider the locus, or the framework within which the conflict occurs. The locus, in the sense, like why this conflict arises. So what is the framework in which the conflict arises? Okay. So here too, there are three basic types. So first one is direct conflict, intra-group conflict, and the intergroup conflict. Direct conflict, in the sense, it is the conflict only between two different people, two different individual only. Here, no any groups are involved, or maybe no any teams are involved, no the organization is involved. Only two different individuals are considered there. And if the conflict arises between those two people, we can call it as the direct conflict. And intra-group conflict, in the sense, the conflict which occurs within a group or maybe team. If the organization has a team of maybe five people, composed of five people, and if any conflict or disagreement arises among those five different people, we can say that the intra-group conflict. Only maybe that particular group. Maybe it can be a group of marketing specialized. So those marketing specialized, maybe in terms of an advertisement, or in terms of a promotion campaigns, they may have different opinions, and they may have developed the conflict. So the conflict may arise in terms of the maybe cost, or maybe duration of that marketing campaign and all. So if the conflict arises in such a nature between those marketing specialists or the expertise only, then that is called as the intergroup conflict. Intergroup conflict, in the sense, it is the conflict between the group or team. It is not within the group or team. It is between the groups. For example, there's a group which is composed of marketing specialized, and in an organization there is another group which is composed of maybe accounting and the financial people, and the conflict arises between these marketing and these financial group, that we can say it as the intergroup conflict. So here the conflict arises between two different teams, or maybe two different groups, not within the group, or maybe not between two different individuals. So this is the entire two groups are in conflict with each other. That is called as the intergroup conflict. Okay. So how we are dividing, or how we are categorizing the conflict, like dyadic, intergroup, and the intergroup conflict, is based on the locus of control, or the loci of conflict. Okay. Is it clear what the conflict is, and what are the categories it, how we can categorize it, the conflict, in terms of like the outcome, maybe three different types of conflict suggested by the researchers, and how we can categorize the conflict in terms of their loci of conflict. Is it clear? Shall we
Yes,
move on?
ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So now we are moving on to these next part, which is the conflict process. So we like conflict process is a process that has 5 different stages. We can expect the conflict to go through these 5 different stages. Every conflict to go through or move along these 5 different stages. Usually, the first stage would be the potential opposition or the incompatibility. Second one is the cognition and the personalization. Third one is the intention. Fourth one is the behavior, and fifth one is the outcome. So usually, we can expect every conflict to go through these 5 different stages. So though it is visible or invisible, uh, most of the conflict will go through these different stages. So we will look into each and every stage in detail. So the first one is the potential opposition or the incompatibility. So we can like display these conflict process like a graph like this. So the stage one, there would be antecedents like communication structure and the personal variable, which will lead to these perceived conflict and the felt conflict. And again, that will lead to the intentions like conflict handling intention like competing, collaborating, compromising, avoiding, and the accommodating. And then it can lead to the behavior, actual behavior, moving on to, from the intention to the engaging in the actual behavior like overt conflict. That can be parties' behavior or maybe the others' reaction. And finally, as a result of this behavior and this intention and all, there could be some outcomes which may arise. The outcome can be twofold. One is to increase the group performance, and the other one is to decrease group performance. Okay. So the first step is potential opposition or the incompatibility. So this is the first step in the conflict process, is the appearance of the condition that create the opportunity for the conflict to arise. If nothing happens, if everything is going in a normal way, if nothing changes, then the people may not even think about, or people may not even perceive or feel the disagreement or different points of view. Nothing will be there. So if the people want to recognize or feel a conflict, then something should be there, and some conditions or some opportunities need to be created for this conflict to be arise. So that is the first step. Okay. So here the potential opposition or some incompatibility between the goals may be there that will lead to the people to think about or feel or perceive a particular conflict. These conditions need not lead directly to the conflict, but one of them is necessarily if conflict is to surface. So we cannot say incompatibility or maybe the opposition is leading to this conflict actually. But if we need to recognize or we need to feel a conflict, at least one of them should be there. Without these characteristics or without these features, we cannot expect a conflict to arise. So for simplicity's sake, we group these conditions. So if something need to be there or some condition or some key condition need to be fulfilled for this conflict to arise, so we can say we can categorize these conditions under 3 different categories, which we can also look at the causes or the sources of conflict. So we can say these 3 different contingencies or 3 different categories as the sources or maybe causes which give rise to the conflict to arise. Okay, so the first source or first source of this conflict is the communication. So the research suggests that different word like connotation, jargons, insufficient exchange of information, and the noise in the communication channel are the barriers to the communication, and this would be the potential antecedents condition to the conflict to arise. Okay, so why the conflict arises is because of the lack of communication. So the people doesn't have the proper information with themselves. One party possesses a huge amount of information, while the other party is not having the proper amount of information, or maybe the lack of information, or he doesn't have the complete information with themselves. So when one party possesses more information and the other party possesses the less information, then there will be a chance for the conflict to arise. So why this happens is why one party have this more information, the other has low information, is because of the communication barriers, because of the lack of communication. So why this lack of communication is there? Why the communication is not fulfilled between these two parties is because of the communication barriers. So the communication barriers could be like connotations or maybe using jargons which is not understandable by both the parties, and sometimes the parties are not willing to share the sufficient information, and then sometimes noise in the communication channel. So these are something which can create some barriers in the communication process, and which in turn give rise to this conflict to arise, which in turn gives an opportunity for the conflict to arise. So second category or second contingency is the structure. So the term structure, like in this context, include a variable like size of the group, degree of specialization in the task assigned to the group members, and jurisdictional clarity, member goal compatibility, leadership styles, reward system, and the degree of independence between the groups. So these are something which can give again another opportunity for the conflict to arise. For example, like if the size of the group is really large, then sometimes people may not even interact with each other. People may not even know each other who are being member of their groups. In such cases, sometimes the conflict, there is a chance of conflict. And which in turn, in some cases, having very small group like 2, 3 people can also lead to the conflict. So it depends on the situation. It depends on the task they are involving in. So whatever it is, maybe the size of the group can determine, and the degree of specialization in task. So some people may be really specialized in particular task, and the other people may not have that much of technical expertise in that particular task. So in such cases, if the people who are lacking the technical expertise is not agreeing with the people who are expertise in that particular task, again, there's a chance for the conflict to arise. And then if the roles are not properly clarified, and if the people do not know what they have to do and what the other people have to do, and what their responsibilities are, what the other person's responsibilities are, then that there's a chance for the conflict. And then member goal compatibility, when each and every member in the group has different goals, different intention, or personal goals are there, then obviously there's a chance for the conflict. So group, in the sense, they have to work for, when they have to work towards a common goal, and if it is not there, if they are not agreeing with the common goal, if the compatibility is not there, then obviously the conflict would arise. And some leadership style, sometimes using the autocratic style may be useful, and sometimes using democratic styles may be useful, and the reward system, degree of independence between the groups, everything will give a chance for the conflict to arise. So the next one is the personal variable. So which includes the personality, emotions, and the values. Okay. So some people in personality, because of the nature of the personality, they are really disagreeable people. So people who are low in agreeableness, maybe according to the big five personality, whatever said by the other people, they are not going to agree with their points of view. So they will say something in opposite to the first opinion, or maybe the opinion suggested by someone else. So if the personality in nature is such a uh, if the people are in such a personality, if the nature of the personality is so, then obviously there's a chance for the conflict to arise. And then people emotional and values, sometimes if the people hold different values, maybe the contradictory values, if someone look for the flexibility and someone look for the rigidity, their values are different from one another. They obviously they will not agree with the other's points of view, so each other's points of view, then there will be a chance for the conflict. So these are the three different categories, or the three different contingencies or sources or the causes for the conflict to arise. Okay. So because of these sources, the first stage or the incompatibility would be arise, or the potential opposition would arise, and this would be serving as the stage one of this conflict process. Moving on to this stage two, it is the cognition and the personalization. So even the stage one, the conditions are there, and if the parties are not perceiving those conditions or existence of those conditions, or if they don't even care about those things, then nothing, no issue at all. So the people will not even perceive or feel that conflict. But when the people start to feel or perceive those conditions, when they start to personalize those conditions, then they will be feeling or they will be perceiving a conflict. So if the condition cited in the stage one negatively affects something one party cares about, then the potential for the opposition or like incompatibility become actualized in the second stage. So when it is affecting something which one party is giving importance to or maybe caring about, then the second stage or the conflict become actualized then in the second stage. So because a conflict is a perceived conflict does not mean it is personalized. It is the felt conflict level when the individual become emotionally involved, they experience anxiety, tension, frustration, and the hostility. So even though they recognize, like perceive, okay, I have been or my outcome have been negatively affected by the second party. So it's not personalized yet. So when people start to feel that conflict, when they are emotionally involved, and as a result of that conflict, when they experience some kind of tension or anxiety or frustration, hostility, and all, then it can be served or it can be said as a felt conflict. So this is where the actual conflict arises. So 2 points are important in stage two. First, stage two is important because it's where the conflict issues tend to be defined. So here only the people are trying to define, okay, this is what the conflict, this is what the other party done for me, and this is what I need to, I have been, so this is what the outcome which has been negatively affected by the first party. So people are trying to define the conflict in stage two, where the parties decide what the conflict is about. And stage two, the second point is the emotion play a major role in shaping the perception. So if the people are not emotionally involved, even they perceive the conflict, there will not be no issue at all. So when they start to perceive it emotionally, when they start to involve emotionally only, the actual conflict arises. So emotions play a significant role in shaping this perception. So negative emotion allow us to oversimplify the issues, lose trust and put negative interpretation on the other party's behavior, and in contrast, the positive feelings or the positive emotion increase our tendency to see the potential relationship among the elements of the problem, to take a broader view of the situation, and as a result of it, we will try to develop some innovative solution for the conflict to solve this conflict. Okay, so that is the second stage. So once we have felt a conflict, once we have perceived the conflict is there, and once we have defined the conflict, we will try to solve it. We will try to use some conflict management strategies or conflict handling strategies to overcome this conflict or to have a solution for this conflict. So intention intervene between the people's perception and the emotion and their overt behavior. So this will be a mediator between the people emotion and their behavior. So even before they start to behave or even before they start to explicitly show their actual behavior, they will be trying to developing some intention. So that is what the intention plays. So it's like a mediator between the feelings and the actual behavior. So they are the decision to act in a given way. So here the people will be making certain decision. Okay, I'm going to act in this particular way. Okay, so exhibit represent one author's effort to identify the primary conflict handling intention. So we can identify uh, five different conflict handling intention based on two dimensions or two continuums. The first dimension or the first continuum is the cooperativeness, which is the degree to which one party attempts to satisfy the other party concern. For example, there are two parties, party A and party B are in conflict, and there's a dimension or one continuum which is called cooperativeness. So here, the party A, for example, party A tried to satisfy or attempts to satisfy party B's concern. So if party B expects something, the party A try to or attempt to satisfy the party B's concern. That is their cooperativeness. So again, this cooperativeness can be ranging from very low cooperativeness to very high cooperativeness. And the other dimension is assertiveness, that is the degree to which one party attempts to satisfy his or her own concerns. So cooperativeness or the assertiveness is the right opposite of this cooperativeness. So here in this assertiveness dimension, what the people are doing is, if there is two parties A and B, rather than trying to satisfy party B's concern, the party A will try to satisfy his or her own concern, not about the other people. They don't care about the other people, even though the other people are negatively affected by their own action. They don't care about it all. And what their concern, what their full concentration would be to satisfy their own concerns. Okay, so that is the assertiveness. So if we use these two dimension, the cooperativeness and the assertiveness, and we try to understand five different intentions, we can organize them as it like if the people are really uncooperative, so cooperativeness can range from uncooperative to cooperative, and assertiveness again it can range from unassertive to assertive. So if people are really uncooperative and unassertive, we can say their intention would be to avoiding from the conflict or avoid the conflict at all. And if the people are uncooperative and if they are assertive, then we can say it as their intention is compete with each other. And if the people's uh, intention is really, if they are really cooperative, concerning about the other party than their own concern, and if they are unassertive, then their intention is to accommodate the conflict. And if they are really cooperative and assertive, their intention is to collaborate. And if they are in the middle of these cooperativeness and the assertiveness, their intention would be compromising the conflict. Okay, so the competing desire to satisfy the own interest, here you can see, since the assertiveness is really high, assertiveness in the sense they are desire to satisfy their own needs and wants. They don't care about the other people. So since they are desire to satisfy own interest, regardless of the impact of the other party to the conflict. And collaborativeness, a situation in which the parties to the conflict each desire to satisfy fully the concern of all other parties. So collaborating in the sense, here you can see even cooperativeness is also high, the assertiveness is also high. So that means they are trying to satisfy their own needs while they are trying to satisfy the other party's needs as well. So here, both the parties are trying to satisfy each other's needs. That means their intention is collaborating. And then avoiding in the sense they just want to withdraw or suppress the conflict at all. They don't want to engage in the conflict. They don't want to compete or accommodate or collaborate or come to a compromisation. Nothing. They don't want nothing from this conflict, and they just want to avoid the conflict to arise. So here they don't want to satisfy their own needs, and they don't desire to satisfy the other people's needs as well. So their intention is like avoiding. And then accommodating in the sense they are in a moderate level in terms of this assertiveness and this cooperativeness, and their willingness of one party into a conflict, like to place opponent's interest above his or her own interest, that is the accommodating. Okay, so here the people are not caring about their own interest. Above their own interest, they first try to satisfy the other people's interest. Then only they will think about their own interest. So in such case, their intention would be the accommodating. So these are the five different intentions the people use, or people will decide what they are going to do, what they are going to actually engage in stage 3. Okay. So stage 4 would be the actual behavior. The people would be actually engaging in the behavior based on the decision they made in stage 3. So when most people think of this conflict situation, they tend to focus on stage 4 because this is where the conflict becomes visible. So whenever we think about these conflicts, we just have an idea, or we just simply think the conflict arises in stage 4. Directly the stage 4, the conflict arises. We don't even recognize, or we don't even perceive that there are three phases or three different stages which precedes the stage 4. The people who usually we don't even recognize these three different preceding stages. So the behavior stage include the statements, actions, reactions, which is made by the conflicting party, for example, party A and part B, and usually as overt attempts to implement their own intention. So here only they will try to implement their own intention or own behavior. This is where the overt attempts would be made. So as a result of this maybe miscalculation or maybe like unskilled enactment, overt behavior sometimes deviate from the original intention. So they may have like decided to be compromising with each other, with the other party. That would be their behavior or that would be their intention, but when they actually express their behavior, actually shows their behavior, the overt behavior, sometimes it may deviate from the original intention. They may have decided something, but actually they may be involving something else. So we can visualize these conflict behavior as follows, like annihilatory behavior and no conflict. So when the conflict is really high, they will be engaging in certain kind of behaviors, and when the conflict is at very low level or minimum conflict is there, they will be engaging in this certain kind of behavior. So we can range those behaviors in a continuum. So when there is a high level of conflict, so people will be engaging like overt effort to destroy the other party, maybe like hitting the other party or engaging in the physical attacks, or like whatever they try to do to destroy the other party or maybe other party's property would be the highest level of the opponent behavior the people can execute, or else aggressive physical attacks, and then threat and ultimatums like even before attacking the people, they will threat the people, like they will like say, okay, I will be hitting you if you are not agreeing with my point of view. I'm going to hit you. I'm going to like attack you physically. So that's how the people will threat. And then if the conflict is like less than the that threat level, then people will be using the verbal attack rather than like physically attacking or like threatening the people. They will like use the harsh terms, harsh voice, and all to show their disagreement. And then overt questioning and challenging of others. So the second stage of this behavior would be like they will start from questioning and challenging the other points of view. They are not readily agreeing the points of views or others' points of view or others' perspective. They start question and they like start challenging the others' views, and the minimum level of conflict or minimum level of behavior exerted by the people is the minor disagreement or like the minor misunderstanding. So all conflict exists somewhere along this continuum. So we can expect the behavior of the people exists somewhere along this continuum. So at the lower part of this conflict are characterized by like subtle, indirect, and highly controlled forms of tension, such as like student questioning in the class, a point that the instructor had uh, just made. So that is very like indirect and highly controlled behavior. And when the conflict intensifies or like the intensity of the conflict arises, like it increases or escalates as they move upward along the continuum until they become highly destructive. So when the intensity of the conflict increases, the people start to move upward along the continuum. From the downward to, they will start to move upward. And when they are moving upward, they will like becoming very destructive. So at the like top level or the what like top of the continuum, they will be doing engaging in these strike, riots, wars. So which clearly fall in these upper range. So conflict that reach the upper range of the continuum are almost always dysfunctional. So when the conflict is at the lower level of the continuum, that can be like even functional. So like they are not destructive at all, but when they move along the continuum or when they move upwards along the continuum, they become more and more dysfunctional. So that people will be very destructive. So functional conflicts are typically confined to the lower range of the continuum. So usually when they move upward along the continuum, it becomes dysfunctional. And when they are at the lower level of the continuum or lower range of the continuum, it will be like functional in nature. So this is what the stage 4. So if a conflict is dysfunctional, what can the parties do to escalate is, or conversely, what option exists if the conflict is too low and need to be increased. This brings us to the techniques of the conflict management. So even we are not expecting the conflict to be at very low level that everyone agrees to, or the point suggested or maybe initiated by one person. So those kind of very low level of conflict is not also expected. So what we are expecting is a moderate level of conflict. So if the conflict is very low, what we can do is we can use the conflict management techniques to bring the conflict to the expected or desirable level, or maybe a moderate level. Okay. So the conflict management, the use of resolution and the stimulation technique to achieve the desired level of conflict. So what are the conflict resolution techniques are available, and what are the conflict stimulation techniques are available? So we can use like conflict resolution. So if it is too high, we can use certain techniques to bring this conflict to a moderate level, like get the conflict, like reduce the level of conflict. And if the conflict is really low, which is very low, when we can use this conflict stimulation technique to bring this conflict to the moderate level. So conflict resolution techniques would be like problem solving. So we can have a face-to-face meeting with the conflicting parties, like and identify what the problem is, and they can have the open discussion, and through that open discussion they can find out or come up with a solution for that problem. Or else superordinate goals, rather than like having, if the conflict arises because of these incompatibility of the goal, we can create a shared goal which is beneficial to both the parties. So through that we can like bring the conflict to moderate level, and like expansion of the resources. And if the conflict arises as a result of the scarcity of the resource, maybe the resources can be expanded, the resources, more resources can be allocated to both the parties. And sometimes avoidance, withdrawal from or suspension of the conflicts, like not engaging in the conflict resolution, or maybe any other argument or discussion, nothing. So we can, one party can simply withdraw from the conflict. And then smoothing, so playing down differences, like emphasizing the common interest between the parties, like uh, giving up certain conflicting interests, and then compromise each party to the conflict, give up something of value. And authoritative command, so the management can use their formal authority to resolve the conflict. And altering these human values, like human behavioral technique, like human relation training to alter the attitudes or behavior of the people. And altering the structural variables, like changing the organizational structure, like interaction patterns, maybe using the transfers, creation of like coordinating positions and the like can be used to resolve this conflict. That means to bring this conflict to the moderate level if it is really high. And if the conflict is really low, we can use these conflict stimulation techniques, like communication. We can use some like ambiguous and threatening messages to increase the conflict among the people, and bringing some outsiders who intentionally create some rumors, like they group adding employees to the group whose background, values, attitude, everything is far different from the earlier or the existing members. And restructuring the organization, like realigning the work group, altering the rules and regulations, and maybe increasing the independence. So those can be done. And finally, appointing a devil's advocate. That means designating a critic to purposefully argue against the majority's position or majority's point of view. For example, like if there's if in a meeting, like there are 10 people discussing about something, and like if everyone else is agreeing with the point, the then devil's advocate can be appointed there, where even though 9 people agree with the point of view, the one person will disagree with the majority's point of view. So then they will like start to argue, or they will start to discuss about the other people point of view. So discussion goes on, that will lead to the best solution to be reached. Okay. So these are the conflict resolution and conflict simulation techniques which can be used. And final stage of this conflict process is the outcome. So this is what are the outcome that the conflict leads to. So outcome can be true functional outcome or maybe dysfunctional outcome. So conflict is constructive when it is improving the quality of the decision, stimulates the discussions like creativity, innovative solutions to be proposed, encourages the interest and the curiosity among the group, provide the medium through which the problem can be sold or maybe tension released. So those kind of issues. So if the conflict lead to such kind of outcomes, that can be called as the functional outcome. And if the conflict lead to destructive consequences of these performance, uncontrolled opposition, act to deserve common ties, and eventually lead to the destruction of the group. Sometimes the group may not able to exist thereafter. The because of this result of this conflict. The people are not in a position, they are not ready to be a part of this group. So, in such cases, because of this highly destructive conflict or destructive outcome, we may need the group to dissolve. So, that might be the dysfunctional outcome arising as a result of this conflict. So, this is a conflict process. Is it clear? Anything to ask? Shall we move to this negotiation? Is it clear? Okay, moving on to this negotiation. Again, negotiation is a process where two or more parties exchange goods or services and attempt to agree on the exchange rate for them. So here, what they are trying to do is they are trying to exchange a good or service, and they try to agree on the exchange rate. So if I give 3 units of my product, and what amount of money you will be giving to me. So they are trying to exchange something, and as a result of exchange they are trying to agree for the exchange rate. So depending on how much the parties are going to interact with one another, sometimes maintaining the social relationship and behaving this ethically will be just important as achieving the immediate outcome of bargaining. So we cannot expect the outcome or to be achieved or exchange rate to be achieved. Though we are expecting or our intention is to agree on the exchange rate, we have to be ethical or we have to maintain the social relationship when we are involving in this bargaining or the negotiation process. Okay, so here we use the negotiation and bargaining interchangeably. So accordingly, there are two general approaches to the negotiation. So first one is distributive bargaining, second one is the integrative bargaining. Distributive bargaining in the sense negotiation that seek to divide up the fixed amount of resources, that is a win-lose situation. So if two parties are trying to divide a fixed pie, so amount cannot be increased or resources cannot be increased, those are limited, a fixed amount of resource or amount of money is there, then the people try to divide it among themselves, then obviously it will lead to a win-lose solution. So a win-lose situation. So if some party gets something, other party is giving up those amount to the other party. If the second party gets that particular part or gets that particular portion, then the first party is giving up those part. So here it will lead to a win-lose situation. We cannot expect a win-win situation in the distributive bargaining because the thing that they are going to, the thing that they are trying to divide is fixed. They cannot expand the amount or expand the resources there. So its identifying feature is that it operates under zero sum conditions. That is, any gain I make is at the expense of yourself and vice versa. So if party A gains something, it is the expense of party B. And in vice versa, if party B gets something or gains something, that is in the expense of party A. So the essence of distributive bargaining is negotiating over who gets what portion of that fixed pie. Like fixed pie in the sense we mean the set of amounts of goods or services to be divided up. So we cannot increase that amount or the number of goods and services which need to be divided up between these two different conflicting or negotiating parties. Okay. So the second kind of bargaining or the negotiation is integrity bargaining. So here the negotiation that seeks one or more settlement that can create a win-win solution. So integrity bargaining, it will lead to a win-win situation. So party A gets something and party B gets something, but it is not the expense of the other party. Okay. So here it can be lead to one or more than one settlements. In contrast to this distributive bargaining, integrative bargaining operates under the assumption that one or more possible solutions or settlements can create. So here it's not a one solution or the people are not expecting a one solution. So more than one solution can be created to assumption like more than one possible settlements are there, which can lead to the win-win situation. So there are ways to achieve this integrative outcome. So individual who bargain in terms of like reach more integrative agreement than those who bargain individually because more ideas are generated when more people are at the bargaining table. So what the people are doing in terms of this integrative bargaining is individuals who bargain in teams reach more integrative agreement than those who bargain individually. So here, integrative bargaining in the sense it is more suitable or more it's possible where the bargaining or negotiation take place as a group or as a team because there will be more people and everyone will be giving their solutions or different alternative settlements and that will lead to the win-win situation. So if it is individual bargaining or individual negotiation, only one person would be there and only one settlement would be proposed by that particular person. So negotiation is also again made up of five different steps. First one is the preparation and planning, definition of the ground rules, clarification and justification, bargaining and problem solving, and finally closure and implementation. So if you look into each and every step in detail, like first step is preparation and planning. So here you have to be prepared even before you actually engage in negotiation, even before you actually engage in bargaining, you have to prepare yourself for the bargaining. So before you start negotiation, you need to do your homework. So we have to do some homework to prepare ourselves. So what's the nature of the conflict? So what's the history leading up to this conflict and or the negotiation? Who are the parties are going to be involved in this conflict and what are their perception? What are their goals? What are their intention? And what you want from this negotiation process and what are your own goals? So these kind of questions you have to ask within yourself and you have to come up with the answers before you actually enter into the conflict. So you have to do some homework to get the answers for these questions and you have to prepare and plan for the negotiation process. And then definition of the ground rules. So once you are done your planning and developed a strategy, you are ready to begin defining with the other parties ground rules and the procedures of the negotiation itself. Okay. So once you have like planned how you are going to engage in the conflict and what is expected by yourself and what is expected by the other party and all, now you are trying to define with the other party. You are trying to have a discussion with the other party and you are trying to define the ground rules. Okay, you have to be or you have to negotiate within ground rules, within these rules. You cannot go beyond these uh, limits. Okay. The next one is the clarification and justification. When you have exchanged the initial position, both you and the other party will explain, amplify, clarify, bolster, and justify your original demand. So each party will be having different demands, and once they have exchange their position, initial positions. Okay, this is what led the conflict to arise, or this is what the history leading to the conflict, and this is what my demand. So why I'm demanding this, or why I'm expecting this amount of money from the management is because you have to provide your justification. So why it is needed for yourself? What is your expectation and what are the reasons behind those expectations? What is the justification of your own expectation? You have to provide the justification and these steps need to be confrontation. Okay, so this step need not to be confrontational. You should not confront the other parties. Here, the only thing that you are doing is you are trying to justify your own demands. Rather, it's an opportunity for educating and informing each other on the issue, why they are important, and how you arrived at your initial demands. Provide the other party with documentation. So, if you are saying something and if you are demanding something, you have to provide the documentation. And if you are justifying the demand, you have to provide the documentation for those justification. And the fourth step, bargain and problem solving. Here only actual bargaining takes start place. So the essence of negotiation process is actual give and take in trying to hash out the agreement. So this is where both party will undoubtedly need to make the concession. So this is where the confrontation start taking place. Okay. So people try to confront the other people on the bargaining and problem solving stage. And the final stage is the closure and the implementation. So here, the negotiation process is formalizing the agreement you have worked out and developing any procedure necessary for implementing and monitoring. So, so in the bargaining and problem solving stage, you will try to confront the other people, and at the end of those stage, at the end of the fourth stage, you will try to agree on a solution or agree on a settlement. So closure implementation, you will be formalizing those agreement. You will be creating the documentation for those agreement or the settlement that you have agreed to, and you will start to implement and monitor those settlement. Okay, so these are the five different stages where the negotiation process will take place. And the final thing about this negotiation is the third party negotiation. So when two different parties involved in the conflict are not in a position to solve their conflict by themselves, they may need one external party to be the mediator or to represent themselves in the bargaining process. So this is where the role of a third party, or this is where the third party comes into play, and they will be doing a mediator role here. So to this point, we have discussed the bargaining in terms of the direct negotiation. Occasionally, however, the individual or the group representative reach a stalemate and are unable to resolve their differences through the direct negotiation. So, in such cases, we may need someone external to the conflict to mediate this conflict process. So, there are three different third party roles. First one is the mediator, second one is the arbitrator, third one is the conciliator. Okay, so the mediator, who is a neutral third party, who facilitate the negotiated solution by using reasoning and persuasion. He will be suggesting certain alternative, and he will be persuading the other party, but he's not in favor of one party. He would be a neutral person. So persuading or maybe talking for both the parties. Whether it is party A, party B, he will be a mediator, a neutral person, discussing or maybe bargaining for the sake of both the parties. And the second one is the arbitrator is a third party with the authority to dictate an agreement. So arbitrator, so mediator, he doesn't have any authority to implement or to come up with a solution or maybe a settlement. But arbitrator, he is a third party. Yeah, he will be having a certain amount of authority with himself. So arbitration, it can be voluntary, requested maybe by the parties, or it can be compulsory. So sometimes, if in the some certain cases, if the people go and comply with file a case against the other party, the government or maybe court may appoint an arbitrator. So it's a compulsory arbitration. So which is forced on the party by law or contract. And the big plus of this arbitration is over the mediation is that it always results in a settlement. So in mediation, even though the mediator is there, sometimes without a settlement, the conflict may still continue. But in arbitration, there will be a settlement. They will reach a settlement. So without a settlement, they will not conclude the negotiation process. So that is the big plus or the biggest advantage over the mediation to this arbitrator. And the next one is the conciliator. So he is a trusted third party who provides an informal communication link between the negotiator and the opponent. So here also the consider, so he will be like doing a mediator role, just provide a communication link. That is an informal communication link. There will not be any formal authority or formal regulation will be or law, contact, nothing is involved there. It's just an informal communication which is provided between this negotiator and the opponent party. That is the role played by the conciliator. So these are the three different roles a third party can play in terms of this negotiation or the bargaining process. Is it clear? Anything to ask? Anything to ask in this conflict and negotiation unit? Any clarification?